Welcome to the Pinning Combination Podcast. I'm KJ Pilcher alongside Dick Briggs. Ready to discuss a little college wrestling here now that the postseason is upon us at all levels. Coach Briggs, quite an exciting time of the season. Not just for what's ahead for D1, but we're in the middle of D2, D3, and of course, NAIA just finished up their men's national championships as well.
Right, and then even throw in a little international competition down in the Pan Am games. So we got it all right now.
Yep, that's right. Well, hey, let's do you want to look back at the last week or do you want to look ahead here first? With what we had, Cedar Rapids in the middle of 2 straight weekends hosting postseason events, and of course you've got the biggies coming up at the D1 level with the Big Tens out at the University of Maryland, College Park, Maryland. And then the Big 12s where Iowa State, UNI will be in Tulsa, Oklahoma again.
Well, we might as well start at home. D3 wrap up or regional wrap up, I guess. So
Yeah. Did you know Cedar Rapids was in the running to host the Big 12 tournament at one time?
This year?
Before Tulsa secured a long contract. The Big 12 was looking for host sites, and Cedar Rapids with Iowa State, and I think UNI had just joined or was getting ready to join. Cedar Rapids threw their hat in the ring to host the Big 12s. Wouldn't that be something having the Big 12s here?
Yeah, that'd be great. Save me a plane ticket and hotel room down to Tulsa this year.
Yeah. Well, Cedar Rapids does have a few tournaments, as we mentioned. The D3 Lower Midwest Regional was here and at the Alliant Energy Powerhouse. Uh, Obviously, strong contingent of American Rivers Conference schools. Part of that regional, really, it's kind of a Iowa Conference, American Rivers Conference tournament on steroids, really, when you bring in teams like North Central, Milligan, Augustana, um, you know, teams from Texas and Alabama and Arkansas, Missouri as well. So, huge field. We talked about that too, kind of the imbalance, but uh, man, there are some outstanding matches and 2 great days of competition downtown Cedar Rapids.
Right, and sometimes it's easy to forget Cornell, who's not ARC anymore, Iowa Conference there. So Cornell as well, who had a great tournament. Talked to Jacob Scherzer, one of the assistant coaches there and former wrestler for me, and he said this is the most. They had 8 medalists, and that's the most he can remember being associated with Cornell. So I think he was a 17 grad maybe, and so. They had 2 qualifiers, so throw those into the mix as well. So good tournament. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. Obviously a lot of storylines coming off there. Warburg, they came away with the team title. North Central was second, Co was third. I believe Loris just happened to kind of jump into fourth. With a couple champs on Friday. And then Cornell fifth, Luther sixth, Milliken, Central, University of Dubuque, and then Augustana round out the top 10. But what do you think? What there's some great individual performances, but what do you think is I don't know the maybe the number one highlight from that tournament, from maybe the finals,
from the finals,
or the tournament as a whole, whatever you want to touch on.
I'd have to say whenever a national champion gets beat, that's a highlight. So I guess at 174 with Zeb Ganita from Solon,
Mm-hmm.
got into a flurry late in the match, a 1-1 match, and got into a flurry and took down the defending champ from Wartburg and won that at 174 4-1. So to me, I suppose that was it. Lots of fun things going on. There's some disappointments as well. In that it's kind of fun at the regionals because my eyes tend to be more on the third and fourth place match than the championship match are going on at the same time, because that's the match where the person that wins is a qualifier and the other person, their season's finished. So it's always fun to see and sad to see the results of that match. So it kind of makes it fun as a spectator.
Yeah, just to backtrack on Zeb Ganita, his win over Zane Mulder. It was interesting talking to him afterwards, where Zeb talked about the first time they wrestled 3 times this season, and the first 2 times Mulder won. First one was at National Duels, which if you remember is just less than 2 months before this third match, right? So 8 weeks earlier, Mulder major decision Ganita, and then they wrestled in a duel. Um, I think that was at the beginning of February, and United closed the gap a little bit. It was within 2 or 3 points. Uh, United kind of mentioned he, maybe kind of a desperation shot, gave up another takedown, but was right there in the match, and it closed the gap. And he was confident going in that he had he had done enough to close the gap and could win it. He mentioned that the fact that he was in the finals, he had already secured a national tournament berth, so there wasn't quite that pressure that maybe he had in the semifinals, where he got past Milliken's Dejan Glaster, uh, 4-2. Um, that he could just kind of loosen up and relax and wrestle and do what he knows best, and then he capitalized there at the end. So just thought it was kind of interesting how he talked about closing the gap and kind of gaining confidence and going into that last one, with a hey, I'm just gonna let it all out. Whatever happens, happens. And now he's even talking about what he can do the next time they face off against each other, which if that happens, obviously will be at La Crosse, Wisconsin, hosted by the University of Wisconsin La Crosse, March 15th and 16th for the NCAA championship. So thought that was kind of interesting from Zep.
Right. And and maybe even a little defense in his first match, which was in the national duels. In a dual setting, when you're late in the duel, if your team's getting rolled, lots of wins going the other side, that can be a little deflating and defeating to you sitting there watching that. And when you step out on the mat, so that's a factor as well. He didn't have to deal with that at the regional tournament. He's back and just stepping on the mat, not watching his teammates lose or whatever. Um, so that's another factor that in a tournament, individual tournament, that's that can be beneficial to you. So yeah, congratulations to him. That's a nice win.
Yep. Couple other items of note. Well, let's just kind of go back to what you were saying with the third and fourth place matches. Um, there are a couple situations there where you had somebody like Coe's Cade Hornback and Bryce Park uh, at 125 and 33, where Hornback was in the mix of that 125-pound bracket, which is just
Oh,
so deep and talented, with four top 10 guys in there. He had to beat a returning All American, Brady Koontz, earlier in the tournament. Um, and then he was able to uh, get a win there. Was it by fall as well? And I'm trying to remember the third place match
Third and
for
fourth place.
Hornback.
Right. He pinned Levy from Wartburg in that third and fourth place match. Close match.
Yeah, and Levy was ranked sixth or close to that or something, I believe. So, you know, for him, that's huge to get that third spot at such a competitive weight. And then Bryce Park, 133 had like 1, 2, and 3 in the rankings of by some rankers, and um, he lost to Augustana's Trevor uh, Borila on the front side, and he stormed back, got to that third place match, got a rematch against the kid from Augustana. Uh, was trailing, came back, took the lead, and then got a pin in the third. I mean, that kind of goes along with what you're talking about. Those situations where it's exciting, and then you have performances like that just really kind of up the ante a little bit with not just the fact that they won and got that berth, but the way that they did it with those two.
Right. And actually, KJ, we can go on. Co's a perfect example because you got those two that you mentioned. And by the way, Park did it with the Spladle, but evidently they call it a different move. They call it the what?
Is it do they call it the Park or the Bruce or something like that from Lindmark, given the fact that he sets it up a little bit different? It's just kind of they name it after him because of that little bit of a different setup that he was able to hit the kid from Augustana with.
Right. So he was down.
So apparently he did it a lot in the Limar room. So
right. In the room, and I think during competition as well, because they called it the Park, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
And he was down 11-8 at the time when he I don't remember if it was a reversal takedown or just a Spladle.
I think it was 11-9. I think he got an escape and then hit it. But anyway, your point still taken. He was down, needed that takedown. So,
and my point with Co is you look at Co, who had four in the if I remember right, in the third and fourth place match, and they won the first three. The two that we've just mentioned, and then Kodum won his third and fourth place match, and then Arsenal at 97 goes out and he gets a takedown, if I remember right, a turn, and then got high on a cradle and slipped and got pinned. And that's like you got three guys that are just through the roof, excited and jumping their national qualifiers, and then here's a guy that's walking off totally dejected. I'm sure, especially when he was up in the match and got a little high and got maybe a little reckless. I don't remember, but anyway, got pinned in that one. So very disappointing. That's that two sides of the coin on that third and fourth place match. And Koa unfortunately had to suffer both sides of it. Had three on the good side and one not.
That's right. One other third place match before we touch on a couple of the other finalists. 157 saw kind of all heck break loose there in the quarterfinals, where you had the top two seeds get pinned like within moments of each other, really. Might have been on the same mat even as well, but those two faced off for third place. That's Clayton McDonough of Luther and Alex Villar of North Central. Villar was a returning national finalist.
Estrada from North Central.
Oh, okay. Villar was the 65 pounder.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Estrada was a returning national finalist. McDonough had qualified for nationals last year, made it to the blood round. Got third at regionals previous year. Might have lost to to Estrada before last season. But McDonough ends up beating Estrada for third place. Quality guy stayed home, but McDonough able to actually Luther won two third place matches. Their heavyweight Walter West also going. So Luther has two qualifiers. But what a big match there for one national berth. Unfortunately, quality guy had to stay home, but kind of goes along with the theme.
2 points on that. McDonough won by fall, so even a little bit extra. Nice pat on the back. But then I talked about that in my Tee It Up with Briggs last week about the inequity in the regionals, and you mentioned it in an article, and it's so true. And here, we just talked about example after example. This region is so tough. It's easily the toughest of the six, and only 3 kids at each weight qualify for the national tournament, with only 18 competitors in that tournament per weight. So it's just sad that good. We had four or five All-Americans from last year, maybe even a couple from the previous year that aren't in the tournament, in the national tournament because of so few qualifiers. So very sad.
Yeah, very, very much so. Just kind of looking at the regional champs, Christian Guzman of North Central, won at 125, and then you had Robbie Priesen. He came away with a title at 133. Now, depending on kind of whose numbers you go by, that's like 87 or 88 in a row for Robbie Priesen, dating all the way back to the NWCA Nationals in Coralville that you know well. And the last person to beat Robbie Priesen, Brock Henderson of in that NWCA finals. So Priesen had some tough matches. Joe Pins, the runner-up at Wartburg, gave him a tough one as well. But Priesen keeps his winning streak, which I believe is tops of all NCAA wrestlers, regardless of level or division. Loris's Eric Kincaid, very, very strong showing. He was champ at 149. Nathan Calloway at 157, top Gabe Smith of Cornell. There at 157. 165, Will S. Moyle had an exceptional tournament. He won the 165 pound bracket and dominated. Had 3 pins and 2 technical falls. Pinned Villar in the first period. Villar, North Central. If I remember right, I think it's 55-3 that he outscored his opponents, his 5 opponents in the tournament. So heck of a job there, and a nice momentum builder going into the national tournament. At 184, Casey Ross of Wartburg was the champion and beat Cale McLaren of Cornell, who reached the finals and advances with Gabe Smith. 197, Masoma and Dean was the champ. He was also named most valuable wrestler. He beat Gage Linehan, and he dominated his way through. And then Robbie Bates, North Central, was the champ at heavyweight over Mitch Williamson. We mentioned Walter West was third. The coaching staffs of the year, John Ostendorp and his staff, honored there. And then the most pins, Clayton McDonough with 4 in the tournament. So that kind of highlights those finishers and award winners who are advancing to the NCAA championships, as we mentioned, at Wisconsin lacrosse, March 15th and 16th, I believe, right?
Right. And McDonough's 4 pins, his last one being over the defending national runner-up.
Yep.
Anyway, so very impressive. 4 pins. Wow.
Yeah, very much so. So some really outstanding wrestling there at the Alliant Energy Powerhouse, and it's thought Thursday had a pretty decent crowd there that first session. Certainly uh some really good wrestling. I think D3 gets overlooked so much. Um the talent level there, I think, would surprise some casual wrestling fans.
The talent. They go out and get after it. There's matches that are exciting. There's so many that went into sudden victory, and like the heavyweight match, the last match of the day. Bates gets a pin in overtime, in sudden victory over Williamson of Wartburg, and just fun, exciting things. And the thing I like about it is it's a lot of local talent on a lot of different teams. You bumped me and go, is that Macias from was he from Assumption? and anyway, that was on the Augustana team. We go, yeah. So it's just we're seeing people we don't even really realize are there. So that makes it fun for us. For me anyway.
Yeah, same here. Same here. NCAA Division II also had their qualifiers. Upper Iowa went to Minot, North Dakota for their D2 regional, their national qualifier. NCAA championships are at Park City, Kansas, which I believe is around the Tulsa area, or not Tulsa, Topeka, maybe. The same weekend, March 15th and 16th, as the D3s. Upper Iowa, sounds like you kind of nailed it last week with kind of what Upper Iowa faced and what they came away with.
Yeah, their Division II regional is very similar to the D3 regional we watch, Upper Midwest or the Lower Midwest, but theirs is called Division or Regional 5 or whatever. And again, extremely deep. And Upper Iowa has 4 ranked kids, pretty highly ranked kids, but the weights are so deep. They only had 2 that were seeded to qualify, and a couple of other opportunities, but they just didn't come through. It's so deep. Again, the D2 Division II tournament only has 18 wrestlers in it. I don't know why they don't go to 32 men brackets, but it's disappointing. But hopefully, if enough of us squawk, maybe something will happen, right?
Yeah, well, Upper Iowa, their 2 qualifiers, Chase Lensman at 165 and Tate Murdy at 141. Lensman, many will remember, returning national champ. He improved to 23-5 this season. He went 4-0. His win in the finals, a 4-2 decision over St. Cloud State's Anthony Herrera. So strong showing for him as he tries to defend his title. And then Murdy, kind of interesting with Murdy. He finished third at got that last spot. He's now 21-7 heading to the national tournament. But he's a 2-time All-American. He was 6th. I think maybe as a freshman in 2021. Didn't place in 2022, and then got 8th last year. So now he earned a spot to try to get back on the podium and maybe finish off with his best finish if possible. But definitely trying to find a way to get All-American honors for the 3rd time in his career.
Well, that's impressive being a 3-time All-American. No easy task. And I think Linsman was not the number 1 seed, if I recall. He was 2 or 3. And so, I mean, here's the defending champ. It's not the number 1 seed. That's how I think he was. It's off the top of my head, but I think he was the 3rd seed.
Wow.
So good for him. Good luck to those.
Yeah. And then touch on Grandview. We talked about their chances to win another title. Knew that Life would be some stiff competition, and I think Life even may have led after the first session or even the first day. But Grandview comes away pretty dominant performance. When you look at it, the Vikings scored 209.5 points and were 55.5 points better than Life when it was all said done. It's their 12th national title at the NAIA level. They had 12 All-Americans. Obviously, NAIA, you can have multiple entrants, qualifiers per weight. I think there was it a 12. Is it a 12-person limit?
Yes.
So each one of them made the award stand. Seven out of the 12 finished 3rd or better, which I think is pretty amazing there. Alex Reynolds at 174, Isaiah Llewellyn at 184, and I am not even going to bother trying to pronounce their 197-pounder. Giravis, Quick Caballo. They all won national titles. I tried it anyway. But Owen Braungart, you had an all Grandview final at 197, which is pretty impressive. Owen Braungart was a runner-up there. And then heavyweight Greg Hagan was also a runner-up for the Vikings as well. Nick Mitchell, like we mentioned, like it said, 12th national team title, tournament title, to go along with all those national dual titles that they've had. But what he's done in creating that program has been amazing. Where it only took him a short time before making that an NAIA power and still going strong.
Right. And I don't, obviously, it was a total team effort. I think all 12 score. I'm not sure on that, but nevertheless, with 12 medalists and adding to that point total, and I don't think that's the most champs they've ever had in one season. I don't know that for a fact, but I think they've had more, if I recall. So again, to have that point total, 200 and over 200 points, and then with 3 champs, I mean, obviously that's pretty impressive in itself. Right. But very, very nice job.
Well, let's take a look ahead. As we mentioned, the D1 championship postseason starts this weekend. The Big Tens are out at University of Maryland in College Park, Maryland. Iowa. Well, first off, the Big Ten pre-seeds were released Monday night, so you got an idea of Iowa's lineup. Did you like the Big Ten? Did you happen to see what the Big Ten Network did for their pre-seed announcements?
I did not. Did they have a seed party or whatever you call it?
Well, they had a an announcement show, which I know some people kind of mentioned that wish other conferences would do that. Obviously, the Big Ten has kind of a built-in advantage because they have the BTN, right? So they have the resources and the means to do something like this. But I thought it was pretty cool.
Did Shane Sparks do that again?
Yes, I can't remember who the other studio host was with him, but anything with Shane Sparks is gold, by the way.
Yeah, he brings it. I love it. So
Yeah,
they have done that. I've seen it in the past. I did not see it this
have
year.
they?
Look, so that's on me.
I've seen that for the Nationals. I hadn't seen the pre-seeds for the Big Tens before, but
Oh,
it was cool. I liked it. I thought it brought a little bit of excitement, and they didn't drag it out either. It was bam, 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 what it
yeah.
needed to be, and still had all the pomp and circumstance really with it being uh one of those announcement shows. But
Right. And I
uh,
don't know how Sparks does it, man. He just rolls it off with information from each wrestler, like he knows them personally and has been watching them all. I mean,
yep,
he does a good job.
and he's all over the place too.
Yeah.
I location wise, where he's in a studio and then all of a sudden he's doing a meet in in Ann Arbor, or he's doing a meet in Lincoln, and you know, then he's in Columbus, Ohio, and then he's back in the studio. I tell you what, if he doesn't have an energy drink sponsor, he should.
I would agree on that one.
And I tell you what, he is an absolute gem for the sport of college wrestling. He just really is.
Right. Well, the Big Ten Network has three of my favorites for sure: Sparks and Gibbons and
Tim
Johnson.
Johnson.
Yep.
Yep. They certainly do. BTN, they whoever was in charge of kind of aligning talent up, they hit a home run.
Right.
Uh Going back, Tim Johnson, Jiminy Christmas, for decades, he has been, for a lot of different um uh channels or avenues and stuff, where he has been an absolute constant staple of bringing wrestling into people's homes. Which, imagine where we'd be if we didn't have somebody like TJ, where it was Iowa Public Television, and then BTN, ESPN, you know,
Right.
uh, I think Fox. I think he's been part of Fox broadcasts too. So he's he's done it all. He's done it all.
Yeah.
Um, and BTN, yeah, like you mentioned, BTN's done a great job with their talent, and it'll be exciting to follow along this weekend as well. But let's jump into Iowa's precedes and some of the things that it kind of shows. Drake Ayala, the top pre-seed for the Hawkeyes. He's number 2 behind Matt Ramos at 125. Then you've got a handful of number 3 seeds, um, starting with Real Woods at 141. Interestingly, there, obviously behind Bo Bartlett, uh, that's kind of a given with Bartlett's win head to head. And then I'm trying to think the number 2 from Ohio
Mendez.
State.
Mendez. Yeah. Ohio State. Mendez.
Yep. So Woods is the number 3 there. Caleb Rachi. So that answers one of the lineup questions. Rachi with the nod over Victor Voinovich III at 49. He's the number 3 seed. Michael Caliendo at 165, Patrick Kennedy at 174, and Zach Glazier also seeded third. Head scratcher with Glazier versus Jackson Smith, considering, boy, just about every criteria. When you look at winning percentage, bonus point percentage, um, there's no head to head with them. Glazier's only loss of the season is a decision by Aaron Brooks. So if you go by common opponents, uh, Smith was majored by Brooks this season. I don't get it there, but you know, it really is 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Really, when you're looking at the 2, 3 seed, possibly it just depends on you know,
On the 6th and 7th seed.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because you could have somebody like a Silas Allred he might be more 4-5, but um, you know, somebody like that as a quarterfinal opponent, then it does really make a difference between the um. But all red's the 4. Okay, so maybe it doesn't come into play there, but um, yeah, it could with that quarterfinal matchup make a difference.
So
Um,
so he'll have Luke Gregg in the quarterfinals, the Ohio State kid. So that's a head to head with two teams that are going to be in the battle for probably second place.
right, right, yeah. So that would be a key one there. Um, as far as 4 seeds, Jared Franick, I believe, seated fourth at 157, and then Bradley Hill, he got the nod at heavyweight. Um, he's the number 7 seed. Uh, Brody Teskey, he's going to go at 133. His final run here. He's the number 14 seed, and we'll touch on that here in a second. And then Aiden Riggins at 184. So no Gabe Arnold. Riggins is the number 13 seed. Um,
Quick comment.
let's talk about Arnold and Keeter first
Oh,
here.
one comment on Franick, the 4 seed.
Oh,
Of note, the 5th seed was Peyton Robb from Nebraska, and I'm like, wow.
wow.
One time he was ranked number 1, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
I think that was 1 versus 2 when they faced off in Nebraska, or maybe Rob had been number 1 the week before and had lost, or Frantic might have been lost to Blockus right before that. I'm not sure.
yeah. So, and I'm like, gosh, that's a quarterfinal now. But those
Yeah,
two great wrestlers, jeez.
yeah, it's crazy. It also shows the depth of 157 in the Big Ten as well. But yeah, that's gonna be
Yep.
nuts.
Regarding 84 and heavyweight, yeah. Go ahead and make your comment there.
Well, I mean, I will get your take on um, what they decided to do there. Arnold and Keeter keeping their red shirts. Kind of got an idea. There was maybe a cryptic tweet from Keeter before this all came out where it was like freshman season and a green check. Weren't sure. Kind of figured that meant season done. Um, and that Hill was going to go. Could have meant that, hey, we're getting ready for the postseason. So check here, we're going to finish off the freshman season, but obviously uh, they're not going. Uh, good decision.
I think so, yes. And I thought that was what was going to happen all along, particularly at 84. Uh, at 285 with Keeter, I could see it going either way because I don't know if Keeter will be around in 4 or 5 years. On the other hand, he may decide he doesn't like football and is around for sure. So you leave that door open in that avenue. And I think Brands I think it's smart to kind of, he's got some older guys that can fit in at some of those weights. Teskey and so anyway, and some other guys, but kind of build for that future. I mean, Kennedy will be senior, right? He's gone, so
Mhm.
Arnold can step in at 74, or if he's put on some bulk, maybe 84 next year. So I think it's a smart move. Yeah.
So here's I was at the wrestling media availability yesterday. That was on Tuesday. We're recording on Wednesday. But this is what he said about when asked what went into that or why he decided to keep Ben and Gabe out. Uh, quote: There are a lot of things that go into those decisions. They're certainly capable. We have other guys that are capable there as well. There are different reasons for both of them. When you look at each individual reason, the bottom line is at the end of the process, this program and this guy, and he pointed to himself, really like the idea of both of those guys having 4 years at the end of this year. So, like you said, not really a surprise there, but he just kind of lays it out. Now they've got some things aligned here with those two going forward. Um, he was asked if there was some consultation with football because I'm not sure if people understand that spring practice starts the week of the NCAA championships. Um, and he said, no, not to where it can be mutually beneficial. I think they run their organization. We run ours, knowing that we have a very capable and unique student athlete there, referring to Ben Keeter. He went on to say, I think both programs are really excited about him and his future. Uh, when the time to talk is upon us, we'll talk. So, in other words, in the future, when we have to kind of say, hey, this is when we're taking him, you know, when do you need him? This is when we need him. How are we going to iron this out? They'll do that. They didn't necessarily need to do that this season with his red shirt. He goes, my favorite people on campus are Kirk Ferentz and his staff for a lot of reasons. This is just something that makes us a little bit tighter. There's a little bit more in common. We'll cross that bridge communication wise when we get there. So, he also went on to say, Bradley Hill isn't chopped liver. That was his comment. It's like he's capable, talented, explosive, and a heavyweight that Brands and the staff loves. Um, he's done well this season. So uh, I just think even with the wins that they've had this year, I think team wise, individual wise, I think you roll the dice. You have a capable heavyweight in Hill. Riggins undersized at 84. He's had some. He'll battle. I mean, that can. That might get you a win or two. At this stage, just the heart and the fight component, but um, I think it's what's best for the athletes. I think that's what's best for the Hawkeye team going forward in the future.
Boy, and you know what? As a longtime high school coach, you know what I like best about that? And it doesn't happen that often in college. It happens all of the time, or at least it should happen all of the time in high school, is the football coach and the wrestling coach
Oh,
that are communicating and sharing athletes, and they're doing it respectfully and not trying to undercut one or the other. And I just love hearing that. That's really good. I wish all high school football and wrestling coaches could hear
yeah. No,
that.
I
And other coaches
I
too,
agree.
other sports.
Yep. Yeah, and I know for a fact that there have been football coaches. Uh, I don't think it's quite as prevalent now because I think there have been a lot of uh, examples that have won coaches over that. Hey, there's this uh, complementary style and competition that's going to benefit and bridges from one sport to the other. But I know in the past there have been football coaches that are like, "Hey, you get in the weight room instead. Don't wrestle. Don't cut weight." I mean, this is specific. I've had a wrestling coach, and I'm not going to say who it is. I'm not going to say the school, but it's a metro school. Yeah, it's not you, not you. But it was a metro school, and the longtime football coach told people specifically not to go out for wrestling. Now that coach isn't here anymore, doesn't coach anymore. But he specifically told wrestler, and this was a team that needed the upper weight presence. He specifically told some football players, "Don't go out. You need to be in the weight room lifting. Don't go out there, cut weight, whatever." And I don't even think they were being asked to cut weight either. Um, but specifically told them not to go out for wrestling. And one, like you said, one, it does a disservice to the kid. Two, it's an outdated belief or approach, because I think you even see maybe the opposite from most football coaches now. At least they should. That, hey, go out because of the footwork, the leverage, a lot of things are going to benefit you in football. You know, so yeah, this is definitely a higher level of that cohesiveness and cooperation that you hope trickles down, and seeing what they do with Keeter and how it all work out.
Right. And it's that complementary skill set that you're mentioning there that really to learn how to compete, whether it's on the mat, really, or anywhere on the court, can help the football players become better competitors out on the football field.
Oh, for sure.
Yep, that's good. Like I said, I hope they all hear that.
So, I'm going to run down the top seeds here for each weight. Matt Ramos, the number one seed at Ramos from Purdue. Michigan's Dylan Ragusin, the top seed at 133. We mentioned Bo Bartlett at 141. Ridge Lovett of Nebraska, the top seed at 149. At 157, Levi Haynes of Penn State, Dean Hamady, the number one seed at 165, Carter Starochi at 174. That'll be something to kind of keep an eye on, of whether or not, uh, you know, how he wrestles. He had that injury right at the end of the regular season. I believe Kale Sanderson said he's on seek and destroy mode or something like that with Starochi. But we'll see if this is a thing where he might medical forfeit or injury default. I guess would be the more technical term for it now. To go on, because he's got to have two back-to-back matches where he steps on the mat for 1 second. So we'll see if they rest him for a couple weeks, because he's going to get that. He's going to be a national qualifier regardless of whether he finishes matches and places in uh, the top 8 or 9, what they have there at 74. Um, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. The number 2 seed there is Griffith. So you've got 2, 3, 4 is Griffith, Kennedy, Edmund Ruth. So be interesting to see how that shakes out. At 184, you've got Isaiah Salazar from Minnesota, who's the number 1 seed. And then Aaron Brooks and Kirk Villette, the top seeds at 197 and heavyweight. So I think we've done this in the past. Do you have a lock on somebody from Iowa that is capable of wrestling above their seed?
Oh, I think a lot of them are this year. But I'm leery at 25 to say Ayala can wrestle and win it, because 25 has been so topsy turvy.
Right.
I just wanted to make comment. It was at 184 before we get into this.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Truex that was ranked number 1 throughout is the 3rd seed there, and then also Shane Legal. Just like keeping an eye on that D3 wrestler who's wrestling this year at Wisconsin. Sure. He's the 7th seed, and so he could qualify if he wrestles to seed. So that'd be awesome.
Anyway. Yeah, and we should also mention that Michael Blockus is the number 2 seed at 157 as well, a former 4-timer from New Hampton and Crestwood, and then former UNI wrestler.
Right.
Is the number 2 seed there.
Right. And so who do I pick to wrestle above their seed? I'm going to go with Will Woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my pick. He's 3rd seed. I think he can win it. Obviously.
That's I think that's one for me as well. I think the easy pick would be Brody Teske, and I should mention that too. Tom Brand's kind of shed a little bit of a light on kind of what happened there at 133. So the competition there at 133 with Colin Shriver and Brody Teske. Brody Teske got the last win or last dual meet nod against Oklahoma State, where he lost by decision to Dayton Fix. Now, Brands didn't necessarily dance around it, but just kind of made mention of I think in passing of a wrestle off. It was one of those things where after I'm trying to find the quote here. So he says, there's just funny things that go on. I think he means with the policy and the procedures with reporting or submitting wrestlers for the pre-seeds. And he mentioned, so there's, I just read it verbatim. There's just funny things that go on. Teske, he wrestled at Oklahoma State, and you've got to make sure the situation that we were in, that the timing was right. We're going to do what's best for our athletes first. And in my assessment, the program's assessment, it was right to get the timing correct for wrestle off for a lot of reasons. So right there, that probably tells me that after Oklahoma State, they wanted to give Teske, a little bit of time to recoup, recover, whatever, before a wrestle off. He goes, I'm not going to go too much into it. I've probably said more than I want to say about it, but it's a policy. I guess you could say with the Big Ten that when you submit your lineup and you get us to a certain point and you do change, which sounds like that's not necessarily uncommon that these things happen. But there's a certain number of points and it has to be close within 2 or 3 points for it to be opened up for a coach's vote. And the policy says because of how this went down, we are not able to open it up for another vote. So that's why Teske got stuck with the number 14 seed.
What does he mean by points? Number of points?
I think they're the points for the pre-seeds. So with him, like with the pre-seeds, there are some things like, say, you and I are seated 3rd and 4th, and we're within 1 or 2 points of each other in the criteria list. So you add up all the criteria or whatever, head-to-head, record, whatever they may be. And you're the 3 and I'm the 4, and we're with 1 or 2 points. You can open it up to a vote to where, or let's switch, hey, this guy is, even though the points are in his favor, this guy's better than that guy. That guy should be the number 3 seed, and the coaches vote on it to see if those two should actually be switched. So I think that's the number of points that, okay, this is our switch. Teske should be here, vote on it. And they're like, no, it's too late. We're not voting. He's number 14 because you didn't get him in time. That's my understanding of it.
So, wow. So, a lot to digest in what you said. First of all, I get why they gave Teske time after the Fix match because he battled him hard. It was regular decision and close match really. And so he deserved that time before they were going to have a wrestle off. That being said, I suppose the lineup had to be submitted before they had the wrestle off, it sounds like. And so Franz either just guessed or just wrote one down, and maybe Teskey didn't have a good enough resume to get seated high enough, because there was a lot of both of them wrestling. So a lot of things that go in there. As far as the 14th seed, that really sucks if you're Ohio State, the 3 seed, because that's your first round match. Sucks worse for Iowa, but it's not going to be a friendly first round match. That Ohio State, the number 3 seed of Bukakis, yeah. So for him, that's not right, I guess. I mean, I understand these things happen, but wow, all right, huh. Crazy.
Yeah, and Teskey's Teskey his response to the situation. One, he says he feels the best he's felt in his entire career. I'm just kind of looking. He says, as far as the seeding and all that stuff goes, it's championship season for a reason. It's like nobody's going to come and just lay down. Everyone's coming to fight. So be ready to bring the fight. If you're not, you probably shouldn't. You probably should stay home. Mm-hmm. So, in other words, he's saying, hey, it doesn't matter if you're seeded 14th or 5th or what have you. These are going to be tough matches and tough opponents regardless. So he's not fazed by coming in as number 14.
Well, if he doesn't win that first round match, he's got a long road on that backside. But boy, there's a guy that can do it. He's always been a battler. He and Blackus, have both wrestled in the Jefferson Gym at the Jefferson tournament. Back when I was coaching. So very good. Yeah. Good to see those guys shortly after. So are you going with my Real Woods one, or did you have another one in mind?
Well, I'll go with Teskey. I'm going to take the easy route.
Just,
I'm grabbing the low hanging fruit.
Okay, easy enough.
And I also think Jared Franick has a chance to be in the finals, or not the finals, but finish in the top 3.
Okay.
I'm not sold on Brayton Lee, or either of the two really on the bottom side there.
Right. The Franick has Haynes is the.
Yeah. That's why I switched it to not being in the finals, but being in the top 3.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I get what you're saying on the backside or for 3rd and 4th. Okay. Yeah. So I just in seeds alone, Penn State has 10 automatic qualifiers. Michigan will have 9. Iowa has 8. Nebraska has 8. Ohio State has 9. Penn State, like you said, has 5 number 1s, a number 2, and a number 3, and I think a 4 or 5 or something like that. They're all real high. And so it just really is a matter, is Penn State going to break the record or not? And if Starochi pulls out, probably not, maybe, I don't know. But and then so I'm going to go with Penn State is going to win it. That's a real stretch, right? then it gets dicey because Iowa could finish anywhere from 2nd to 5th. So I'm going to go Penn State, Michigan. I'm going to go Ohio State. No, let's see. Ohio State, Iowa, Nebraska. There, I said it.
Okay, so you have Iowa finishing 4th.
Yes. But they
right after
2nd to 5th.
What was that?
They could, like I said, they could go anywhere from 2nd to 5th.
Yeah. I don't know. I just have a hard time seeing Ohio State, Nebraska surpassing them. I'll still go Penn State, Iowa. or Penn State, Michigan, Iowa. I think you could. Boy, it's just going to depend. Uh, boy, yeah. Um, yeah, I'll go Penn State, Michigan, Iowa.
Well, and I had Ohio State with 9 qualifiers, but their 10th, the one that's not qualified is at 157. Wilcox, he's the 10th seed, and the cutoff line is 9, so he could
Oh,
qualify as well. So that's why I kind of leaned on Ohio State there. But then Teskey could make up that difference. So
sure.
so it's a roll the dice thing.
Yep. Oh, for sure. For sure. So again, that the schedule of events for this weekend starts Saturday at 9 a.m. For session one, and then 6:30 p.m. For the semifinals Saturday night, and then Sunday action starts at 11 a.m. Finals beginning at 3:30. You can watch that BTN and Big Ten Plus for session one, Big Ten Plus for session two, and then session three. The semifinals are in BTN and Big Ten Plus. Um, then on Sunday, you've got Big Ten Plus uh, for the third session, which is all the constellation uh, matches, constellation semifinals, and everything, and then the finals on BTN and Big Ten Plus at 3:30. Of course, you can listen to all the Iowa matches being called on KXIC with Stephen Grace and Mark Ironside. Um, so definitely a lot of ways for you to follow along uh, live from the Big Ten championships.
Should be fun.
So let's take a look at um, the Big 12 tournament. Same days at Tulsa, Oklahoma. You're going to be down there um, doing some work and enjoying things as well, but lots lots to cover there with Iowa State, UNI, even some Iowans on other teams as well. But kind of kind of interesting with the way things worked out with the Big 12, where Iowa State had two number one seeds, but maybe not the ones you would think, given the leaders of this team. Obviously, because there were some pretty good guys in their bracket. But uh, top seeds are Anthony Echemendia at 141 and Casey Swiderski at 149. Not David Carr, or Younger Bastida.
Well, obviously, Carr we knew wasn't going to be
Right.
since O'Toole was evidently ill, and I'm not disputing that was ill. But I mean, the whole team was when they came up to Russell last week, so that doesn't surprise me there. Bastida, yeah, kind of a little bit there, but I don't care where you put Bastida. Look for him in the finals and winning that thing. That guy is on fire. Jeez, he's so strong and explosive. So,
Yeah. I think I'm really excited for the possible heavyweight final between those two. Really hoping that that plays out. But Iowa State not in a real uh, not in a bad position where you kind of look at where they're at. We mentioned the two number one seeds, Carr and Bastida. At number two, Evan Frost and MJ Gatan also seeded two at 133 and 174. Um, you've got some folks like Feldkamp that are are seeded pretty well, but um, Chidham. I think Iowa State's in a really good position here.
Well, I think there's to me there's three dogs in the fight and maybe only two. I mean, there's a lot of dogs in the fight, but when it comes down to it, I think it's going to be Ohio State and Iowa State, real close there. And Missouri is not far behind. Um, then throw in UNI, South Dakota State, West Virginia, kind of down below that. But those top three, I'm gonna pick. Oh boy, um, I'm gonna go Ohio. Did I say Ohio State? Oklahoma State. Jesus.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. I'm gonna go Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Missouri in that order. But man, I know how Iowa State can win it, and they've got the potential, right? Really. So.
Oh yeah, that's tough. That's tough. But I'm gonna go off kind of how the regular season finished. Um, I did not think Oklahoma State looked real good. Um, in that in that final duel against Iowa. Maybe some of that was just the way that Iowa wrestled instead. But um, I'm gonna be a homer and I'm gonna go Iowa State. I
Right on.
just have a feeling uh, they might get a little bit of help. Um, I think they got some really good individuals that could come away with titles. Um, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if two of their number two seeds in Carr and Bastida win it. Um, you've got Kyson Terrakina, who is back. So he must have taken care of things that he needed to take care of. He's the number six seed at 125. We mentioned Frost, Etchemin Diaz, Swiderski. Chidham is the number four seed at 57. Will Feldkamp, number five seed at 84. Then you have Julian Broderson there at 97, the only unseeded uh, Cyclone. I don't know. I guess I'm just being a huge homer here and thinking Iowa State gets it done.
Right, and I'm hoping you're right. Dresser has done a good job of progressing this team throughout the season and dealing with little issues here and there and keeping them on point and on focus. As easily as I think those number two seeds or those is Bastida number two or three, whatever he is.
Two.
He's two. So those number two seeds could win it. I'm not sure the number one seeds could could trip a little bit there. So that to me, that's like or maybe they could have four champs. I don't know. We'll see. Or more. So I don't know. It's just gonna be tough. Oklahoma State was really progressing well throughout the season until they hit Iowa. I think that's going to burn in their crawl a little bit. And
you think so?
Yeah, and I think that's gonna. I hope Smith is able to use that to springboard his team forward and so they can make a positive out of that whooping they got. But
they've kind of faltered in the. I guess one thing too. This isn't maybe the Oklahoma State team of the last couple of years either. Where they've had some struggles. I really think Coleman Scott's addition to the staff has really been a really key factor in the way they've wrestled. It just kind of caught a glimpse of where they had some postseason struggles, mostly at nationals,
right.
in the recent years, and maybe kind of saw that bubbling up with that the performance against Iowa. But yeah, like you said, that could be the opposite effect where could be the opposite effect where that actually is a wake up call and really kind of energizes them more than anything.
That's what I was just going to say. I not only does it energize the team, I think an addition like Coleman Scott can energize the head coach and the entire coaching
Yep.
staff. So, and that just trickles down onto the team and gets them performing. But that doesn't matter. I'm still pulling for Iowa State. I can say that all out, right? Well, don't get me wrong. Now, when it comes to those two teams, now let's throw in you and I, and we're going to pull for both of them for sure. So the Panthers, they have 6 that are seated above the automatic qualifiers. Iowa State has 9, like you said, and then the Gordon. Boy, that heavyweight class is deep. That bracket is deep because Gordon is what is he seated? Whatever, he's the 6th seed, and they only take 5, which is crying shame. But his resume. Get this, I wrote this down. Gordon, his losses this year, he has 4 losses. He's 8-4, with not really any significant wins. But 3 of his losses are to guys in his bracket. Duchette, who he lost 4-3 in tiebreaker. Heinzelman, who he lost in sudden victory 4-1, and Elam, who he lost in tiebreaker 4-1. So, so he's got to beat one of those guys to qualify. So if he doesn't beat it, however the bracket falls, he's going to have to beat, as well as the other guys to get to them. But he's going to have to beat one of those guys, and he'll qualify, and then at least automatic qualify. So.
Gotcha. As for all the seeds for you and I, Trevor Anderson, the number 8 seed at 125. Julian Farber, the number 5 seed at 33. Cale Happel, he's the number 3 seed at 41. Adam Allard, unseeded at 49. Then Ryder Downey, the number 2 at 157. Jack Thompson, unseeded at 165. Then Jared Seamus, the number 5 at 74. Parker Keckeisen, obviously the number 1 seed at 184. Wyatt Volker, the 5 seed at 97. You mentioned Gordon is number 6 at heavyweight. Anything surprise you in those seeds at all for you and I, or did it kind of go fairly according to plan?
I think it went pretty accordingly. I mean, I'm glad to see Downey was as high as he was. I did read somewhere on, I don't remember who, so someone had that out there that they thought the toughest weight class in the Big 12 was 184, and I went, what? Deepest weight class, and I went, boy, that kind of startled me. So I have to go back and look. Parker's been so dominant this year. Now they got me nervous. So when I read that, so it's deep, but he's made it look pretty easy actually. So
right.
So let's hope that he keeps it on a roll. And I mean, the goal here is we're in the postseason. The goal here is to finish undefeated, and I don't remember that happening ever in my lifetime as a Panther wrestler and fan, other than even national champs Jim Miller, Ken Snyder, and Randy Ombig my freshman year went on and got beat in the D1, so they didn't finish undefeated either. So
wow, that'd be a heck of a accomplishment. Just like if he wins the Big 12 title again, it'll be his 3rd. But that would make 6 straight seasons where UNI has won the 184-pound Big 12 title. Drew Foster won.
Yeah, 2.
Drew Foster won it twice. Taylor Lujan once, and then Keckeisen in the last 3 years. You don't see that very often, regardless of conference. To have 3 different people, extend that streak of a certain weight class. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Well, I think
if you can do it.
But you and I joined the Big 12 the first year Foster won it, right? So ever since they've been in it, they've owned 184. Am I right there?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. So take that, Big 12.
Yeah. And yeah, because I think Foster won a MAC title his sophomore year and then turned around and won the Big 12s the next season. So
Well, hopefully everyone can wrestle to seed and get to qualify for nationals and wrestle there. So,
is there between the Cyclones and the Panthers, is there anybody that you think can wrestle like above their seed or maybe be kind of a pleasant surprise this weekend?
well, gosh, there's ones that I sure hope on the UNI side. I'd love it. I'd love to see Happel win it. I don't know that can happen, but that's a from the heart one there. Watching him grow up at Lisbon and such, and same with Wyatt Volker. Watching him grow up through up at Manchester, West Delaware. So, gosh, Farber's is such a competitor. He's a 5th seed. I'm going to go with. Let's see if Farber can maybe wrestle a little bit above a 5th seed. How about that? You got anyone? To catch me off guard, I wasn't sure. For Iowa State, I'm going to go with Carr. That's just all. I just want him to beat O'Toole. So,
for Iowa State, I think more likely to see Bastida or even Feldkamp finish above 5th there. So I'd go with those two. I certainly don't want to jinx them at all. But I like Happel's chances. I mean, I know Ishman Diaz wrestled well lately, and believe he got the win over Happel, right? Was that in overtime?
I don't recall. I know it was real close, but I don't remember if it was overtime.
Right. But I like Happel's chances for some reason. I like his chances to make the finals and even win it all. One other one too that Kaisen Tirakina for Iowa State possibly as well. But I also like Trevor Anderson wrestling above an 8 seed there at 125.
You hopefully you'd think so, but
yeah,
Trevor's been kind of hit and miss too. So
right. So
now a couple other mentions. Number 1 seed, and maybe you already did 97. Tanner Sloan for South Dakota State, and Kate DeVos for South Dakota State at 174, number 1 seed. And then also here's one that you probably didn't know. He's not unseeded, but at 197 for Air Force, Calvin's son. He's from Minnesota, but his dad wrestled for me at Jefferson, and his mom was a Jefferson.
Really?
So
did not know that.
Following them from afar, his career. So I'll be keeping an eye on Cal. He stayed at the house one time when they were kids. They came down and they wrestled up in the room, and then went up to I think it was West Delaware to wrestle in a tournament one spring. So when they were little guys, he's got a younger brother too. So
wow. Yeah, you mentioned Sloan there at 197, top seed, 18-1. He'll open with Northern Colorado, Xavier Vasquez, and then could possibly face Julian Broderson in the second round. Broderson has Austin Cooley of West Virginia, the number 8 seed. So could see 2 Iowa kids battling out there in the second round. And then who does DeVos have here?
Bye first round, I think.
First round, yep. That's correct. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing those results. DeVos will see the winner of Rushton from Utah Valley and number 8 Conley from West Virginia. The winner of that match will be his second round opponent. So yeah, I think the Big 12 should be just as fun as any conference this year. I think things have gotten a lot tighter there. With the improvement of Iowa State, you've got Missouri back in the fold. UNI, South Dakota State. Um, I think that should be a real fun time for you down in Tulsa.
Should be fun. I'm curious to see. I'm getting cart way in front of the horse here, but do you think Fix finally wins a national title this year? Catching you off guard here.
Oh, that's just tough with
Okay, let's do this.
all you know, my first my first thought with Fix, no.
That's fine. That's fine as well. He seems to
Oh,
find not to win, doesn't he?
yeah, but also with you've got Vito in the mix, and we've seen what Crookham from Lehigh has done, right? Um, Ragusin of Michigan getting the top seed. Um, I that's going to be hard to navigate, and I just don't. My my initial thought is I'm not betting against Vito, even though we saw Crookham beat him.
I,
Um, I just, yeah, I just don't see it. And one thing that we're getting. So I asked Tom Brands this about Brody Teske, with this being, his I believe his 7th year, right? Um, his experience. You come into this, you've been through everything. He's done it at the Big 12, the Big 10. He's got all this experience, and I think Brands kind of touched on something we may have talked about before as well. I think his point was more towards, you've got guys you've got a lot of people that have that experience, right? So it's not the asset that you think it is. Not to mention you've got younger kids that are coming in, that are probably better than the freshmen just keep getting better and better and better, right? Each year, that you're not just going to be better due to attrition with people graduating, and that experience isn't necessarily any guarantee that you're going to get better. Right. So, you know, I think we've talked about this, that being that 6th or 7th year doesn't necessarily benefit you anymore. And the older you get doesn't necessarily mean, oh, you have this advantage on these younger kids that might be inexperienced or don't have, the college tournaments, because they've wrestled in these big tournaments all the way through their youth and high school. So I don't think Fix has that big advantage with that. And what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I've watched a lot of those 6 year. Well, last year he got caught, but we saw Spencer Lee.
Yeah.
So the older guys, just sometimes, and not to say that Lee or anyone else had this, but I have seen it that they're just maybe a little past their prime. That those young guys are still hungry and eager, and the older guys are they're ready to move on with life maybe, or something, and not always, but that could be a mindset as well.
Yeah, there's just not the inherent advantage anymore uh for those older competitors at the college level, for a lot of reasons. And that wears on you too,
Right. Yep.
I don't think people. I think what you see internationally is people train smarter, right? And I think it's probably even easier on your body the way the competitions are, right? You're not rolling out competitions every week for 4 months, 5 months, whatever it might be. So that you're not old at 24, but boy, your body can take a beating compared to some wide-eyed, fresh-faced 18, 19-year old that, like you said, might be closer to their prime at that level. So
Right.
yeah, I just don't see it with I don't know.
Yep. You
Uh
definitely have to train differently for sure.
yeah, and I'm just not betting against Vito more than against Fix, maybe. I just Vito's my guy there at 133, I think.
Yeah, we can talk about that when it comes up. But
Yeah, yeah,
I
right.
throw that out there.
Right.
So
Well, any other comments from the Big Ten, Big 12 before we touch on the NCAA national tournament coming up here this week?
good time to throw in my tee it up with Briggs.
Hit it.
So this year it's or this year this week it's a bit of a history lesson with today's topic. It's UNI Chuck Patton's Big 12 reunion in Tulsa, Oklahoma. First off, that sounds wrong. UNI Chuck Patton's Big 12 reunion. You know, we weren't in the Big 12, actually the Big 8 back then.
Right.
Though we did wrestle a lot of Big 8 schools. But Chuck Patton was the head coach at UNI from 65 to 82. And during that time, UNI was a Division II school until 1980, and then it became Division I. CP was the head coach when the Panthers became the only Iowa college to capture the Division II championships, and we did it twice in 75 and 78. Here's a tough moment. I was fortunate enough to be the only person that participated and contributed to the team scores in both of those tournaments.
Awesome.
That's
That is
got to
so
be a
cool.
answer somewhere to someone, doesn't it?
Yeah. Here, us.
There we go. On my backside or my backside win in 75 tournament my freshman year may have not contributed as much as Jim Miller, Ken Snyder, Randy Ombig's titles, but it counts at 1 point or whatever it was.
Yep.
Okay, back to the topic. Chuck Patton has been battling cancer for a lot of years, and I'm not surprised that he's kicked its ass time and time again. At the age of 85, Coach might be on its final battle, though. So CP, who lives in Seattle, Washington area, he'll be in attendance, and many of his former athletes plan to go down and celebrate with Coach. As far as I know, there'll be over 30 former wrestlers attending, many of them that were not starters on the team, which in itself is speaks volumes as to the impact that Coach had on their lives when they weren't necessarily the stars or whatever, but yet they felt like it because that man made you feel that way. A number of former CP coach wrestlers that impacted wrestling in so many ways is incredible, or the number that has, including a Hall of Fame coach and executive director of the Dan Gable Hall of Fame Museum, Jim Miller, high school Hall of Fame coaches, high school or Hall of Fame officials on both the high school and college level, an executive director. Oh, sorry, the voice of college wrestling. We already talked about Tim Johnson. Tim Johnson wrestled at Cove, but then was a graduate assistant at UNI. Chuck Patton was the voice of Iowa wrestling before. When he was getting out of it, he talked Doug Brooker into bringing in Tim Johnson, and that's where it all started for DJ. CP was the influence there, and Tim credits CP with that for sure. Anyway, and then a whole lot of other people. And I thought this was a cool topic. It's you probably won't read about it anywhere, but it's certainly worthy of mention. And I'm heading down, my brother and I, and we're going to enjoy some incredible Big 12 wrestling as well as the reunion. So I didn't think anyone would mind mentioning that.
Awesome. Awesome. That should be a great time and a great opportunity to really celebrate Coach Patton.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
And I really hope the UNI wrestlers, the current ones, take an opportunity to cross paths with them and kind of engage with the tradition and history of their program and kind of the. I'm sure Coach Schwab is uh, let them know, giving them a few lessons about just the impact that Coach Patton had uh, on that UNI program.
I think he has. Coach is good about that. I've gone into the room, haven't done it recently, but every time I've gone in the room, a couple times that I have, back in the West Gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
They um, the wrestlers all come up and shake hands and say, "Thank you for coming in," and they're so accommodating and so. That's not by accident. Those kids do that. Those men do that.
Yeah.
But that's they're well. I'm sure coaches brought that to their attention, and I was very appreciative when I was in there. I loved it when they did that.
I remember witnessing that once. I think we went up to. I was covering Cedar Falls Jefferson football maybe, and you came up with me, didn't you?
I think so. Yeah, that's right. We did go in together. Yeah.
Yep. And then saw that, and it was pretty neat, as you mentioned. They all came up and shook your hand, and um, that was pretty awesome. So, all right. Uh, Also to note, too, if we mentioned kind of the viewing for the Big Ten, the Big 12 tournament, you're able to watch on ESPN Plus. Um, I believe for every session. Um, Session one begins at 10 a.m. Um, and the first three sessions are on ESPN Plus. So that's 10 a.m. Saturday, 5 p.m. Saturday, and then noon on Sunday. And then the finals are 7:30 p.m. Sunday. Those will be aired on ESPN2. So you have ESPN Plus to start out with, and then the finals on ESPN2 for the Big 12 championships. Um, and this weekend, NAIA has their women's championships as well, but the NCWWC tournament is at the Alliant Energy Powerhouse um, Friday and Saturday, where we'll get to see the University of Iowa in their first uh, national tournament, their official national tournament. Um, they've got 15 wrestlers coming to town, making that little trip up I-380. And then you've got North Central with 15 qualifiers as well. Those two teams went toe to toe at the national duels. Iowa won by the slimmest of margins there in the dual format. Um, this tournament promises maybe a little more of the same, um, or the potential for the same to play out with both of them with 15. And then you've got some of the other top women's programs like King University, McKendree. King has 15 wrestlers. McKendree has 12. Um, Kind of possibly making a impact on how things happen. Sacred Heart. They have the returning coach of the year. Uh, they made substantial gains from year one to year two. They have 13 wrestlers. Simon Fraser, which where Simon Fraser is? The anomaly with Simon Fraser.
I don't.
It's a Canadian school.
Oh yeah.
That they're from the British. They're from British Columbia, um, and one of the few, if not the only, Canadian schools in the NCAA under the NCAA umbrella. And they had, Simon Fraser's been kind of one of the top or leading women's programs and they have 11 qualifiers. So could have some really, really good competition with those first two teams, and another tier of teams that certainly will impact how things play out.
I haven't looked recently, but I think they have the equal number of number one ranked wrestlers. If I remember right, they both
Really,
have three number one ranked wrestlers. It's been a while since I've checked that, but yeah, it's gonna be fun to see how that plays out. And this is the start of the Iowa dynasty. So it might be, I don't know where North Central's at with their kids in terms of their where they are in school, but this may be their chance to beat Iowa, and then I don't know after that. You'd think Iowa
right?
would be building, obviously. So,
Yeah, and I think uh, North Central. I think they've had some talent there for a couple years. So, like you said, could be graduating some of that. We know Iowa's not going anywhere, but Joe Norton, I really enjoyed talking to him um, last year about a smaller school, fighting toe to toe with some of these bigger schools, might have more resources. And he talked about just how um, there was a real buy-in by administration that they have absolutely great support there at North Central when it comes to wrestling as a whole, but especially women's wrestling there. So um, that's something that yeah, they might be graduating some talent, but I got a feeling that they're not going anywhere either. Um, it's just going to be hard to compete with the resources and stuff that Iowa has for any program. Nevertheless, a D3 school until things kind of get separated.
right. Yeah, and we know Jeff McGinnis is the coach at Simpson, and
Mm-hmm.
help me out? Isn't Elijah Jeffrey a coach over in Illinois, maybe at one of the schools in Illinois? Am I remembering that correct?
Um, I remember him being maybe Adams State in Colorado.
Well, uh, I was thinking Illinois, but okay, but he'll be there. You think Linmar? Great.
I'm looking that up. I'm
Let's see,
trying to remember here.
Southern Illinois or I don't recall.
Actually, it's Fort Hays State.
Oh, Fort Hays.
Um,
Okay, there we go.
he
Where's
is the head coach at Fort Hays State.
so not
So
Colorado and Illinois. It's in between. It's Kansas.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So um, yeah, think they had. I don't think they had a qualifier.
Okay.
So yeah, he is at Fort Hays State, um, and was their first head coach. So I believe that was last season where uh, he took over. So um, just kind of looking at you mentioned Jeff McGinnis at uh, Simpson leading the way there. Um, they have a qualifier. Wartburg has three qualifiers. Um, I think Dubuque had a qualifier, maybe. Just kind of looking here. They had the University of Dubuque had two qualifiers. Um, so that's uh, some representation from the American Rivers Conference um, here, but just kind of looking at what the University of Iowa um, has coming in. Um, you know, I was ranked second behind North Central. Um, they had 6 regional champs. Emily Gonzalez at 101, Ava Bayless at 109, Brianna Gonzalez at 116, Riesler and Mendy, who had a big win over, I believe, former U.S. national team member at the regional meet. Marilyn Dede, who transferred in from Augsburg, I believe a national champ last year, and then Kylie Welker at 170, the outstanding um, competitor there, who I believe wrestled overseas during part of the season this year, but a big favorite um, there. So uh, you also have Lily Luft uh, in the mix as well. Um, so I was taking a really strong contingent um, to this tournament. I'm trying to get a full list, but don't see it in the notes. But we know what Iowa's bringing to the table here for the national meet.
Yes, I mean with 15 there, it's to me it's like we said, a 2-dog race there. We'll see. I think Iowa's going to pull it out. I think their best is yet to come.
Couple other notes from the U of I here. Ava Rose, the 123 pounder, um, she she made her way into the rankings. She's ranked 10th after beating a 10th ranked wrestler from William Jewell. So she was able to qualify with a 4th place finish. So that's just another ranked wrestler that they've put in here. I'm just kind of going through. Emily Gonzalez is ranked number 1. Sterling Diaz at 101 is ranked number 2. So they have 1 and 2 there at 101 pounds. Bayless, we mentioned, she's number 2 at 109. Brianna Gonzalez is ranked 3rd at 116. Felicity Taylor, she's ranked 2nd at 123. Of course, I think this might be her last go around. She transferred to Iowa from McKendree, uh, which was a national power. They won the first 3 titles before North Central won last year. And she's a former Southwind prep. We mentioned Ava Rose climbing into the rankings as well. Linnea Estrella is ranked number 2. Esther Hahn at 136 is 8, joining Estrella. Lara Mendes ranked number 1. Ella Schmidt, the former Bettendorf prep, is ranked number 2 at 143 as well. Dee Dee's 1. Welker's 1. Haley Ward is ranked number 3 at 170, and then Olivia White was ranked number 9 at 191. So should be a fun weekend. They're going to have a lot of uh, stuff on the periphery as well. I believe March is a celebration of women's sports. Um, they refer to it as her story instead of history. And I think they're going to have some things on display, like memorable moments in women's college wrestling or women's wrestling. A little bit of a fan fest um, outside of the wrestling as well. So, if you have the opportunity to get down here to watch some great wrestling and really kind of learn more about all the things that have led to women's wrestling becoming an emerging sport status. with the NCAA, this is a great opportunity to partake in that. Um, there'll be a legacy wall um, for fans um, to be able to see and really kind of get an idea of some of the trailblazers when it comes to women's wrestling and the programs that have kind of led the way as well. And of course, Clarissa Chun absolutely is one of those individuals that was a pioneer in women's wrestling. Um, you know, from her home state in Hawaii to, I believe it was Missouri Valley State, where she competed, and then internationally as well. Remember, she was on West Virginia's men's coaching staff at one time as well, and was a great choice by the University of Iowa to head that program. So this has got to be another monumental um, thing for her as well.
And if you're lucky, like I was last year, walking into the tournament here in Cedar Rapids, you might bump into an Olympic gold medalist who allows you to wear their Olympic gold medal. Tamara Mensah-Stock last year, what an incredible young woman. She's so full of energy and was eager to share that with me, and that was a special moment for me. So that was pretty cool. Maybe you'll get lucky, huh?
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. So action there starts Friday. Opening ceremonies is at 10:30. Wrestling begins or 10:35. Wrestling begins at 11. Session 2 on Friday begins with the quarterfinals at 4 p.m. On Saturday, championship semifinals is at 11 a.m. And then the uh, uh, the lineup of All Americans, parade of All Americans will be at 6:30, with the finals starting at 7 p.m. on Saturday evening. Um, just want to look at see if the Fan Fest has an itinerary here. Doesn't say exactly any time frame for the Fan Fest. Um, just that they'll have an exhibit area for people to come and enjoy. Um, brought to you by Wrestle Like a Girl. So that's something to really keep an eye out for. Make sure you take that in here Friday and Saturday. And I believe former Hawkeye and U.S. national team coach Terry Steiner will be in attendance as well.
Can I change the subject?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so
I'm done.
So this perked my interest, and it's very confusing and a little bit convoluted. Is that's the right term? I don't. But Spencer Lee's dominance in the Pan Am Championships, February 24th, raised the question and concern to me. So I'm going, well, if he won the Pan Am, which he won handily, if he won that, how come 57 kilograms is not qualified for the Olympics? Okay, so let's there's a lot going on here. So at the Pan Am Championships, they're still wrestling 10 weights. So he's one of the 10 weight champions. As a matter of fact, the United States won all 10 weights in the freestyle. And and anyway, then so for the Olympics, the Olympic qualifier. So to qualify our weight, or the United States for a weight in the Olympics, you have to do one of three things. You have to you do it in the 23 World Championships. You do it in the Continental Qualifier, which is the Pan American qualifying tournament, which was a week later after Spencer won his weight, and or you do it in the World Olympic Games qualifier. That's May 9th and 12th, which is incredibly difficult. Remember, Oliver was trying to do that last Olympics and didn't qualify, and then we didn't didn't have a participant at his weight. So you have to place in the top 3 on that. So far of our 6 weights, Kyle Dake, by placing second in the worlds, qualified at 74. David Taylor, by winning the worlds, was qualified at 86. not him, but our weight class. Kyle
Right.
Snyder was and Mason Paris were both third at 97 and 125. So just recently we sent down Zane Richards at 57 and Nick Lee at 65 to try and qualify our weights. Neither one of them made the finals. If you make the finals, first or second, your weight is in for the Olympics. Both of them actually got beat by Americans. Richards got beat by Cruz, and Lee got beat by Austin Gomez, who's going to be wrestling in the Big 12s, Big 10s, I mean. And so it's very confusing, and it perked my interest. By the way, the women have qualified all 6 weight classes, and the Greco-Roman has qualified 3 of the 6. So we'll be sending representatives to go and try and qualify at that World Olympic Games qualifier. It's over in Europe somewhere. I'm not sure actually where, but
so and it's just weeks after the Olympic team trials,
right? So, that's right, because Oliver qualified last 4 years ago or whatever it was, and then it might not have been 4 years with it might have been 3 years with COVID, but and then he went in to try and qualify. So he's wrestling for himself to be able to wrestle in the Olympics. Says that I do recall that the trials were first. So hopefully, as Iowans, we're hoping Spencer Lee can make that spot for that Olympic spot at 57 and then go qualify the weight so he can compete. It'd be a shame if he didn't get to compete because man, that guy's on fire. I don't know if you saw that, but geez, wasn't even.
I know. And of all the things that he's had to deal with too, with the NCAAs being canceled, which was out of his control, if he gets the spot, hopefully it gets qualified, for whoever earns the spot. Hopefully the weight gets qualified for, USA Wrestling, but that would be tough if he's not able to compete, considering how, to have that Olympic shot after having some things taken away from him. He seems to be the best he's been in years, after injuries and everything. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Hopefully, that gets taken care of. But boy, there's got to be a better way to get things qualified, whether it's from the Olympic qualifying area or from our own governing body getting, having trying to get it set up to where you're getting those weights qualified, right. A different way or
right.
different procedure to determine who's qualifying those weight classes.
Right, and there's only 16 that are allowed to wrestle in the Olympics per weight class. Mm-hmm. So that's how that boils down. Right. I should have mentioned that when Richards and Lee were trying to qualify, they got beat by Americans. The Americans were wrestling for other countries. Like Gomez was wrestling for Mexico, and Richard
Cruz was with Puerto Rico, I believe.
Puerto Rico, was it okay?
Maybe.
PUR. I was thinking Peru, but
no, Puerto Rico.
Yep. PUR would be Peru. I don't know.
So yeah. All right. Well, I think we got a lot ahead of us here. For a lot of people, it boils down to this weekend. This is what they've been waiting for since the beginning of November when they started competing. Like we mentioned, the Big 10, Big 12 championships. You've got the NCWWC championships here in Cedar Rapids as well. So make sure you take in all that, and we'll be back before nationals for the D1s and D2s, or D1s and D3s. The NCAA championships, we'll just put it that way. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll let Coach Briggs take us out as usual.
Let's keep wrestling on the move.